Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton.
Okay, hey, welcome to the July 15th edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology podcast. I am Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and this is the guest bedroom. So we're going to give you a little change of scenery today. And I've also got a guest coming on here in about 10 minutes. And I'm very excited to have her on the podcast. She's a really interesting person. And so we'll introduce her when she gets on. And until then, we're going to just give you an idea of what's coming up this week real quick before she comes on. So let's just take a real quick peek at last week and see if there's anything. Oh yes, Mercury went direct on Sunday. I don't know if you felt it. It was really subtle, in my opinion. I didn't notice anything that was particularly groundbreaking when that happened. Of course, today is the 15th, which means taxes are due today. And I've got a hair that keeps going into my eye. Stop that. Okay, yeah, so we've got a new energy with the Mercury direct. Thankfully, Mercury will not go retrograde again until October. And he will go retrograde in the sign of Scorpio then. So that will probably be a much more emotional, intense time. I do anticipate Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. It is going to be a time of endings and a lot more intense emotionalism at that time. So yeah, I do think that we are also going to be increasing the, I know it's hard to believe, but I think the numbers are going to increase even more by November for Corona. And so hopefully that won't flag the video for saying the dreaded C word. Anyway, so currently we have the moon at late degrees Taurus, which puts it in trine or 120 degrees apart in the sky from the cluster of planets in late Capricorn, which again are Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And so it is an apparently positive aspect. It can cause some strife, but it will be followed by positivity. And it is about the material world. I'd be interested to know if it's actually because, like I said, there is a bit of friction at times with trine. And of course, both Capricorn and Taurus rule money or the material world. So there could be some fluctuations on the market. And I'm curious to know if that's going to go up or down, if there are restrictions or closings, or if it's having a banner day. Because like I said, both of them rule the material world. So I'm thinking, well, definitely Taurus is bullish, but with planets in late degree Capricorn and retrograde, it can make the market a little bit skittish and not want to go up. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes today. And we also have Uranus and Taurus, which meant yesterday the moon joined up with Uranus. And so yesterday was more of a likely day of fluctuations that were unexpected because Uranus is the planet of the unexpected. We've got Venus at 12 degrees of Gemini, which I've mentioned, to me, when I see Gemini, the way for people to understand Gemini energy currently, the most obvious way is the president is a Gemini. And so you understand the duality, you understand certain aspects. There's an energy of charm associated with Gemini so that people are mesmerized by the playful, friendly quality at times. I wouldn't necessarily assign that to who, but Venus and Gemini can make people very playful and friendly and charming. And that is what we have for the next few weeks with Venus in Gemini. Let's just look it up here and tell you when exactly. Venus goes into Cancer on the 7th of August. And so we're going to see a shift in, again, we've had Mercury in Cancer. And so Venus is following Mercury into Cancer. But Venus understands Cancer in a feminine energy sort of way. So it will be a time of wanting to really increase the beauty of your home at that time, after August. I was looking up August yesterday, and I noticed that August is a time of intensity because Mars throughout most of the month of August will be in square to the stellium of Capricorn planets. That means that there is going to be friction between our drive, and especially at the beginning, it will be a square initially to Jupiter. And so Jupiter-Mars squaring, Mars wants to take action because it feels this strong energy drive, this strong push that increases a desire for physical activity and excitement. It wants to feel the rush of adrenaline. And then Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is also a fire sign. And Jupiter, by nature, wants to be active and on the go as well. It is also a fire sign. So there's like this momentum, this drive associated with Jupiter. But Jupiter goes forward for the experience, for the understanding, for the education of the matter, whereas Mars is much more on a whim, or driven to just act out of the sheer enjoyment of the physicality of the movement and what can be gleaned from that movement. Sagittarius is seeking, and it wants to find something greater. And so there's always this movement and momentum towards understanding what's in the future, what the situation is, and other people. Again, it rules travel. So when you have Mars action drive squaring the planet of travel, squaring the planet of education, August is going to be pretty much a month of deciding what's going on with education. There will be momentum against the culmination of an agenda around education. There could be friction, definitely. Sagittarius, while it is not specifically about politics, the 12th house with Sagittarius on the first house, the house of subconscious, is much more about the legalities of things. It's Scorpio. And if you go up to the midheaven with Sagittarius on the horizon, it's education. And so people in the educational realm are going to be affected by this energy in the spotlight, so to speak. So when you put it at the midheaven, when you have Virgo at the midheaven, which rules teachers, and you have Sagittarius on the horizon, the energy is different because the midheaven is the materiality of education, the teachers, and the career for teachers. And then Sagittarius would be the seeking out of information and the drive for the educational experience. So having the energies about education, especially, pardon me, dropped my glasses, the energy for the end of the year, the end half, is going to be about education because it's when we start school. But Jupiter being retrograde and Mars squaring it, going direct, is going to be a friction about the direction education is going. And just yesterday, I believe it was, they were talking very strongly about opening schools again. And I live in Florida. So Florida apparently is the fourth biggest upward tick of, I'll just call it CV. And that's because they flag videos with the word. And so we'll just call it CV. With that in the world, the fourth largest jump in numbers yesterday in the world. So I can tell you, living in Florida, that's not how it's perceived here. It's perceived very much like, it's no problem, I can't get it. Although people wear masks because they require it here in Orlando, definitely it's more cavalier from the energy I've seen. And I've been to South Florida recently, and they definitely don't have, and North Florida, South and North Florida, I'm in Central. But yeah, it's definitely a disconnect with the true nature of that particular pandemic. So anyway, we've got the moon moving into Gemini tomorrow, and let's just see when that is. It enters at 1:19 a.m. Eastern, and so that would be 10:19 p.m. today in the Pacific time zone. Oh, hang on one second. We've got our lovely guest. There we go. Hello. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Let me just turn up the volume a bit. Um,
Great.
I'm just trying to, do you have your camera?
Yeah, hang on.
Okay. I'm going to have to figure out
Here,
how to make it a split
here.
screen. There
There
you
you go.
are. Okay. Let me see. Gallery
My
view.
very
There we are.
antisocial cat's being a weirdo, so
Yay.
yeah.
Hi, let me introduce you. This is my friend Mary Ellen Popyk. She is a wonderful friend I met through the spirit fairs that I have been doing for the last, I don't know, year and a half. It seems like about a year and a half. And
Great.
she has her own company, and I'm going to let her tell you a bit about what she does and definitely about the magazine that I do some writing in. So go for it.
My company is the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit, which originally started in Memphis, Tennessee. And we were a physical store and a community center. And we also did events. That was actually how it started. Was the events were so popular, and people love the speakers when they come. So I was looking for space just to hold events and have speakers and just have little things. And then it just turned into almost instantly a store. And then within 3 months, we had to buy the bay next door to have events. And even just we had a massage therapist in there, different things. So I moved back to Florida in the beginning of 2013. I sold the business. It's still in Memphis under a different name. And
Oh,
since I've been back down here, yeah, I started doing events, and it's been 3 years, Shelley. I think that we've known
wow.
each other that long. We'll have to
No, I don't believe it, really.
we'll
It's
see when our
so new.
anniversary
That's
is. Yeah.
crazy. Oh my God.
Because we met through another fellow artist,
Yeah,
remember?
they're a
Yeah.
friend of mine. Yeah.
Um, so anyway, so we've been doing Spirit Fest, and we do a natural health expo as well. And things have been going very well, and the response has been terrific, especially this year, which has
Mm-hmm.
kind of been a weird year. But we started the magazine last year, and then that reaches everyone, not just in Florida, but all over, in all different mind, body, spirit, and conscious living subjects.
What is
There's
the
something
title of
for
the
everyone.
magazine? Can you tell me?
It's the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit Conscious Living magazine, and all of this is on our website, sanctuaryfl like Florida.com. So that's sanctuaryfl.com. But when you go there, you can find out about our events and the magazine. But better yet, you can find copies of the other editions of the magazine with Shelley's Fantastic Astrology. And she's got a big part of it because she covers week by week. And it's really interesting to go back and see what you said
Yeah, I need
about
to
the
do
different
that.
weeks.
I was thinking about that yesterday. I'm like, wow, I wonder what I said this week because it's
Yeah,
pretty wild. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's pretty accurate.
Awesome. Well, that's good
Yeah,
to hear because I
yeah.
haven't done that lately,
Yeah.
looking back over it.
Yeah,
So,
but everything's on the website if people want to take a look. And there is also some of your fantastic artwork in there too, which, as you know, I love.
oh, thank
It's
you.
just
That's
so happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm very attracted to bright art and things that do bring out joy in your life. It's
Hmm.
really where the flow goes when I do paintings. So
Right.
definitely, and then the cover of the last issue was one of my illustrations too. So if you're in,
And we got more compliments on that cover than any other issue too. Everybody just loved it. So I
that
hope
makes
people
me
will
feel
take a look.
that makes me feel really awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, what brought you back to Orlando?
I had lived here before I was married, and I married a fella who lived in Jacksonville. And as soon as I got married and moved up there, he got transferred to Memphis.
Mhm.
So to make a long story short, we got divorced instantly.
Oh, wow.
And then I was
Amazing
up
how that
there
happens.
by myself. Yeah, well, as the universe will lead us.
Yes.
And so I had no family there or anything, and really was looking for a lot of the resources that we offer with our events. So to back up a little bit, I had been having experiences since I was 7 that I remember.
Mhm.
I remember going through first communion classes and actually being in church and first communion rehearsal and thinking, something's not right here. This is
Mhm.
not how it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, that it's a really good connection to spirit, but I feel like that there's just something missing, a
Mhm.
component they're missing, and that to me would be our direct connection to
Mhm.
our creator.
Yes.
Um, and then I would talk to my mother about some of these things, and then one day she laughed at me in a way that I realized she didn't know what I was talking about, that I think she'd kind of been placating me and thought maybe I was making this stuff up. So
Wow.
when I was 12 years old, I went to a psychic fair. My stepmother, one Saturday morning, we got up and she was reading the paper and she said, that's a black and white thing. And it was about yay big and it had words on it. We'd read it every day.
Right.
And she said, hey, there's a psychic fair in town. Let's go. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, is this for real? And I went there and it was just like coming home. It was literally like finding the mothership.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that too.
yeah. So for me, that was so important because I got the answers to so many questions. I actually snail mailed some of the people I met there for quite a while because there really wasn't a lot, even at the bookstore, on chakras, on astrology. And I do remember, I still have it, even a big hardcover book, and I did my own chart, which took forever.
Yeah, that's how I started doing it by hand. Yep.
And that's part of the reason I respect so much what you do, because it took me so long. You have to have a kind of mathematical mind, I think, to find this easier. And
Absolutely.
You do. You're definitely the other side of the brain than me. And with you, it's just so natural. And for me, it was like speaking another language, one that I did not know. So anyway, fast forward now, I'm in Memphis and I don't really have a community. I go to the Unitarian church, but I feel like something's missing. And then that's why I did my first event there. And then it kind of rolled into that. So now I'm back here. Okay. So now I'm back here. I've come back to Florida. As soon as my daughter graduated from high school, I returned. So long story short, I had been wanting to come back there. Come back here to where the sun shines all the time and we don't have to shovel stuff in the winter.
It's like talking to my parents. I like snow, but they're like, oh no. My mom's like, no way.
Right. So we did the first event a few years ago, and like I said, the response was really good. There are more events down here in Central Florida than there was in Memphis, but they're all different and they have different things to offer. And then you just kind of meet your tribe when you do this. And then, one of the things that we've become very well known for is the speakers, that we really have fantastic conference quality. That's what I say, speakers.
They're really great. Yeah. They're like world class for sure.
Well, you're one of them. At the last event, the Natural Health Expo, remember, you came in and pinch hitted.
That was fun. That was fun. Just to let you know, I do have a very shy side to myself sometimes, and I'm a Virgo, 4 planets in Virgo. That's a lot of shyness at times. And, we had some people and no one knew that there was a conference. I'm like, could you send someone to go tell them? And she's like, go ahead. I'm like, no, please don't make me do that. But I did. I walked around and I said, I'm about to do an astrology seminar, and I had the best audience I've had.
You weren't even on the roster.
No.
Yeah, you weren't even on the roster. It was the weekend before everything shut down.
Yeah.
So the people that did come thanked us for having the event, because they really felt like that they needed this information right before coming in. But then you, very kindly, and then your talk was phenomenal about the astrology of what's happening with the pandemic, with everything this year. And now we've realized it's about a lot more than a virus.
It is.
Yeah. It's about our home life and everything that
and understanding where we are going and who we are and how we integrate in society. A huge part of what's going on is society. And if I might interject briefly, right before you came on, I was talking about August and how things are probably going to start getting more difficult into August to November with education. But we are going to see this closing down again, I really believe, because Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is going to be conjunct Saturn, which is the planet of restriction. And Jupiter rules higher education. It's in Aquarius, which is really a detachment from energy, a detaching from emotional energy, I should say. And so really finding the clarity in the situation and connecting online and finding community. So that's where we're heading, is more community.
Right, which is, again, one of the goal. It's bringing people together. And we did think carefully about whether this event that we're going to have here in 2 weeks, if it was something that we should do. But I was in a mind, body, spirit event a few weeks ago, and there was 1,000 people there each day. And it's clear to me that the people really want this now, that they're really interested in it. They want answers. but meeting in person, it's great that we can do this over Zoom, because I'd be so lonely if we didn't get to visit. But there's just a different connection when you can, connect with everybody. So we're making sure that we do this event very safely, and there's wide aisles, and that there's good, airflow and things like that through there. People do need stuff to do. So, if things are going to remain open, I think we should take advantage of the best parts of it and still try to remain cautious.
Yeah, but, definitely. And Mary Ellen mentioned to me about these plastic acrylic dividers you can put at your booth, which I find is a really great idea. And I think they're probably more prominent now. So as we go on, we'll see them more and more places. So I think it's a good idea.
Right. So there's other ways that we can connect as well too, if things were to shut down again, but I don't think they are in Florida, just saying.
You don't think they're going to do it? Well, yeah, Ron DeSantis.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't.
Shadow governor of who.
So if they don't, we will continue to hold these events. And as I said, we even purposely undersold it just so that we'll have the extra space, but we just want to continue to bring people together and to offer like a buffet. That's what the magazine and what the events are about, that people can just come and learn about different things or find more about something that they're already interested in. But yeah, the connections are really, really important right now.
So could you tell everyone who's listening about where it's going to be and, a little bit about that? And then I want to ask you another question in a different direction, but go ahead.
It's going to be held in Melbourne at the Azan Shriner Center, which is a very nice place with tons of free parking. It's very lovely. And it's just open the way that the layout is in there. It's very light and bright in there.
Spacey. So
yes.
Like have their space, their personal space.
Yes. And it's right off of 95 for people that might come from anywhere, really. It's very easy to find. All of the information
the nose spirits coming in with the nose itches.
Well, the cat was walking across the desk here, and I think it finally got me. But it's August 1st and 2nd, which is 2 weeks away. And all of the information is on our website. It's just $5 to get in, and it includes all of the speakers for the day. Which is also a really good deal. But any other information that you would need, you can go to our website at sanctuaryfl.com to find out more. And our phone number's on there too, or email if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Okay. I wanted to get off onto another tangent. You and I talk a lot about this, and I hope that you're willing to talk about it right now. But you have a particular interest in UFO, like UFOlogy. Is that how you pronounce it? UFOlogy? Or, the study of what's going on with extraterrestrials. And can you discuss a little bit about what sparked your interest in that? Because I think people who are interested in astrology, it's Uranian or Aquarian. It's very much similar energy between astrology and UFOs and the science of space and also the metaphysics of what goes on. So.
Again, that goes back to my youth, although I think I was about 12 at the time that the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out. And I really dislike when people use movie analogies, because I feel like that they see a movie and think that they resonate with this character or whatever. So then they're all of everything that they are in the movie, which isn't always a bad thing. But I think sometimes people use it to disassociate rather than sort of, utilize the energy. But when I saw the movie, I just was so blown away. And I remember thinking at the end, I want to be them, to be there when the people come off the ship. But I had a dream a day or two later that is so vivid in my mind. It's like I had it yesterday.
Wow.
And it was about that I was there in my hometown and watching them land with regularity. And people were watching to see them. It was almost like an airstrip that they were just coming down one after the other. And we were hiding because we weren't really sure exactly what was going on, but it was just so impactful for me. And I'm not the type of person that really has those types of experiences. So I always have pursued it through the years. And for the longest time, we would see unidentified craft in the sky or YouTube or, photos or whatever. And then we would think about, how did that ship get there? What were they doing? And, what did it look like? How was it propelled? But really now we've progressed so much, I think, now we're less interested in the craft and more interested in who's flying it.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's true.
I have learned over the years of study. So when I opened the store in 2006, YouTube wasn't like it was, and it was a lot harder to fake a lot of the photos and videos that we see now. There's just so much fake stuff on there.
Mm-hmm.
So and the MUFON group met in my store, and I got to see some videos of NASA. I can't remember what you'd call it. There was a channel, and maybe it's still there. I don't know if they call it the NASA channel, but where they live stream the feed.
NASA.tv. I watch it
Okay.
occasionally. Yeah. I love NASA.tv.
But they had film footage from space, and it's the stuff they cut. So right now, if you watch that channel, if a craft comes on there or there's something to see that they don't want you to see, they'll cut the feed. And they'll say there was something, some reason for it or whatever, but it's really common. I'm 100% certain somebody sits at that screen and with no other purpose other than just to cut it.
Wow.
So that's when I started to realize there was way more going on that the government or that government agencies know about that they're not letting us about. And I love conspiracy theories, but I'm really hard to swallow them. But then that led me down different things. And sorry?
They're fascinating, but you're skeptical. Just take it with a grain of salt and integrate what you can. And
it used to be there was a lot more truth to them, but I think that people that want to sort of divide us through fear or, just get us interfighting, use it now. I think that there's a huge campaign just to give us disinformation for different reasons. And I don't think it's the Illuminati or the cabal. I think it's foreign countries, but I also think it's people within each community, even within the UFO community. I think there's people that say ugly things just to get you fighting and arguing about things, and then you no longer know what's the truth. All right, I digress.
Space trolls.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got to meet Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who had founded his own the IONS, Institute of Noetic Sciences, to study spirits and science. And I actually got to hear him talk about, he was an atheist, and he was sitting in the spaceship looking out the window and watching the Earth go by. And so that when the Earth's going this way and he's going this way, it changes of view every 15, 20 minutes, he said. And he was just sitting there watching everything, and he had this big aha moment where he realized everything has to be connected, that there's no way that there isn't some divine power that's making all of this go together. And again, hearing him say this, and then he'll tell you more, or he did, unfortunately he's passed away. He saw things that he couldn't really talk about. I believe that he did before he died talk about it. Shirley MacLaine is another one. She actually got to speak to people in the government just because she's famous, and also she's a tough broad. She really digs in there. But it is sort of common knowledge now that every president since Eisenhower has known that we've been in touch with ETs on a regular basis, and other countries freely speak about it. But for whatever reason, America and most of the bigger third world or first world countries don't. So anyway, more
I think that there's coming an astrological energy of the Aquarian energy, which is really breaking down the veil. I mean, if you think about astrology, I'm a Scorpio rising. Scorpio is about the hidden. And it's also Pluto is the ruler of the hidden because it's the ruler of Scorpio. It's going into Aquarius, which is like, there are no boundaries. There are no intellectual, psychological boundaries. So that's why Aquarius tends to be more the sign of mental health, because we start to see different ways of integrating information. And when you have the Capricorn mindset of, there is a point to this, but we have the Capricorn mindset of homogeny, so to speak, like everybody should really think alike. And that's kind of been the way it's been for, millennia. Now, as we come into the Aquarian age, people are not going to be fooled. So the way that things become clearer and understandable, and things like UFOs and other life on other planets, and even just the way we understand things in an intellectual, like having an integration of what's going on in our world, we're not going to be able to be fooled. And the children being raised, now who are 20, 25, they know what BS is. And so even if we're told that, it doesn't mean we're going to believe it, because we have a stronger sense within ourselves of how it is. So I think that as we move forward in the next 5 years, specifically when Pluto goes into Aquarius, it's just going to take off. The understanding of UFOs and higher scientific knowledge of metaphysics and where we are in the galaxy and the universe, in space. And that will all come around and we'll understand it in a different way. I think, as we move on with the generations, we're moving away from this ability to be fooled. So I think that's completely going to change.
It's going to require a completely different mindset to accept the fact that we're in touch with extraterrestrials. It's going to turn the world on its side. But even those of us who are open and accepting and know in our hearts that this is a thing, when you actually see it, it just does something to you. And I think that it activates some, mammalian response in our body where fear is the first thing. So we have to really work with ourselves to really open, and this is a perfect time when we're staying home more and things like that, to really go within and really think about what that would be like, to just have something so completely mind-blowing to happen in the world. And I think now is an awesome time for this to happen.
Well, also with the Black Lives Matter, and women really are starting to say, the Me Too movement and the BLM movement, this, from what I have heard on other YouTube videos and other people who channel or psychics, they understand, and I agree with this, that there's an integration of humanity that has to happen to be able to accept people from other galaxies. If we can't even get along as a people, how are we going to integrate other galaxies and aliens of different ways of being? We don't even understand autism and integrate those people, or deaf people, or people of color, like anybody. It's really an awakening in the future of the Aquarian energy on so many levels. Just
that's really a very profound question. How are we going to, when we're fighting with our neighbors over politics? And I get it, and I think, I'm not sure that people on every side really get it, that it's not really about politics now. People think it's more about right and wrong and about morals and ethics and things like that. But we can have open discussions that are productive with each other if we just would. And I don't know when all of a sudden we just started to just sling insults with somebody we don't agree with. But
well, I have a theory on that, and it's probably not going to be a popular theory. We are a very sports-centric country, and also some European countries. Just soccer is very us against them, and we want that conflict. That's integrated part of our mindset. And so when you have this us against them mentality, which honestly in the last 4 years has really been encouraged to the hilt, that is what we're moving past. That is ego. When you are, there's definitely the fun of sports. I'm not negating sports can be fun. I'm a competitive person. We've been playing poker in quarantine a lot. And so we still do poker 3 or 4 times a week, me and my family. But really, when you pit people, members of a country, against each other, knowingly, that is insidious. It's so negative and dark. And I do think the conflict of us against them mentality is ego based, and we're rising above that to a more inclusive spiritual understanding and truth, which I honestly think is what is being, like, fingernails on the not even on the chalkboard, just like the cat hanging from the screen going, no, because my cat does this, and she's just like caught on the screen. It's like, no, you can't do that. Don't do that. Like all these people are trying to keep that from happening. And so they're upping the game to a new level, saying no. They're trying to throw mud in a different direction. So you look over there, and it's really a last ditch effort towards keeping the masses in the dark. And it's a losing battle, because we are going within. we understand intuitively. And I don't know I honestly have read nothing about conspiracies on the CV. I'm calling it CV so we don't get flagged. But I mean, I can understand those, especially with 5G. I understand how that could be played into that whole scenario. And the truth is, to me, there could be countless CV reasons and things that it would benefit certain people and not others, from races getting more of it to now we have control over more political minded things like judiciary committees and things we can put people in that people aren't watching now because they're distracted by this, to you know, it's better for us not to have a certain type of people around, you know, if we're going to go on this agenda. But you know, all of that could be real, all of it could be truthful, or all of it could be just made up, and it's really just everybody having to understand their integration with each other. There's so many to that particular event, but you know, I personally don't negate any of that necessarily, because it's all fair game. You know, we don't really know yet what the truth is. I personally, I have dreams, I have knowingness because I'm claircognizant. So, which is a little frustrating because I'm a material person with my Virgo. I want to see the, you know, the clear-cut cause and effect. And, you know, as a Buddhist, it's based on cause and effect in my practice. I'm like, where's the cause? Where's the cause? But sometimes the cause is not a clear-cut linear cause and effect. It comes in an intuitive, integrative way, which is very Aquarian. So anyway, that's a dissertation for another day.
Well, let's remember polarity is the reason that we chose to incarnate on this earth. If we, in spirit, everybody gets along pretty well because everybody can see the big picture.
True.
You know, we get it. But when we come down here in 3D in the skin suit, so to speak, that's what we, you know, we experience, is we experience all the different clashes of will and the differences of opinions and things like that. But that's why we came. But it's harder to remember that some days than others.
It is, you know, it is funny having a spiritual path and you aspire to be this Buddha or God based Christian creature. And, you know, then you're out there with your little mask and somebody doesn't have one on. Like yesterday, we went to, my daughter wanted to get her nails done. So I went with her just for something to do. And one of the ladies went up to the counter, had no mask on whatsoever, and I was kind of in shock because they had the sign on the door, and I'm actually sitting in the way. She had to cross in front of me within 2 feet, and I'm like, ah. And then the next lady had the one where it was below her nose, and I just think of that meme that they have. You seen the meme where the guy wearing the underwear with sticking out, and I just think about like, yeah, that's not helping because you're breathing through your nose, but your mouth is closed. But anyway, yeah, it's, you get in those situations and then, you know, all of the little visceral ego-based reactions come out. So right. And that's part of what I think people are taking advantage of, is the divide and conquer, is creating fear. You know, just to be able to have a little bit more control, because when people are distracted by the other thing. So again, that's not really a conspiracy. It's just an oldest time, you know, way to get people to do what you want them to do. So and it's interesting,
staying centered and
being susceptible, you know, like I because I'm an empath, and I think I naturally gravitate towards people pleasing. So when someone puts a strong energy of a belief system out at me, I kind of like, wow, you know, and I can be susceptible to it depending on where I'm at in my day, even, you know. So you just have to get centered and know who you are. I mean, meditation's a great thing to do to keep centered.
That's why I find your astrology especially helpful, because when you see all of the planets that are lining up to create the perfect storm, so to speak, for this, then it makes us makes me understand more about what's going on. And that this, you know, really isn't all just us, and it's not complete chaos and disorder. That, you know, it's a lot of the effects that these things are having on us are playing into people, and we can control ourselves, but there's so many other people out there that may not really be in touch with their spiritual side, or and they're just going to completely be reactive to everything. And you know, So to me, just understanding helps me.
Yeah. No, it's an ongoing thing of, oh, okay, I understand how that fits in the whole, or I understand that how that affects me, and now I can shift and alter what I'm trying to do towards a better end and a better person, being a better person. So anyway, Mary Ellen, I'm not really sure if we have a full 45 minutes or whatever, so I'm just going to probably end it here.
Okay.
Again, people can get you at
sanctuaryfl.com. Is our website, and it's got the information on our upcoming events and also links to all of the editions of our magazine, including the last issue with that fantastic cover by artist Shelley Overton. So do give a look and keep in touch with us. There's a way to sign up on email, and then you'll know about any upcoming events and things like that. And we really appreciate your column, Shelley, because there's a lot of really, really good information in there. So thank you.
I will be doing that today too, by the way. It was on my list for yesterday. I didn't get to it yesterday.
It's all right.
Also, I personally would love to have another, like a weekly podcast with Mary Ellen. I'm throwing that at her. If she's interested, if you're interested, let me know, because we can have like coffee talk with Mary Ellen and Shelley or something like this.
Okay.
Of course, it would be very lively because coffee really hypes me up. So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Helping me. All right. Well, you take care. And to everyone else, you can get me at angeliczodiac.com. Thanks for showing up. Take care. See you next week.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, shelleyoverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.